Hey everyone, Kristin here from Traveling with Kristin. Do you love Costa Rica or have you always wanted to travel there or live there? If so, this video is for you. As many of you know, I've spent a lot of time in Costa Rica. It was the first place that I ever studied abroad and lived abroad when I was in my early 20s, and I've had a bit of a love-hate relationship with it, as you might have seen my video about why expats leave Costa Rica. I don't want to say love-hate, but like there's pros and cons to every country that you travel to and live in. And a lot of this is based on your individual perspective, your worldview, your age, whatever time of life that you might find yourself in. And so throughout the years, I've probably spent more time in Costa Rica than almost any other country in the world other than the US. And it's a place that I still continue to go back to at least once every year or so, or every couple of years. Of course, the pandemic changed a few things about where we could travel and when. So it's been quite a few years since I've been to Costa Rica, but it's still one of the top destinations for my relocation clients to move to. And it's also a place that I have many friends, and I would just love to share it with you. So before we get started into the questions today, make sure to post all of your questions in the chat. We'll do some questions about traveling to Costa Rica, living in Costa Rica, and also a little bit of an Ask Me Anything at the end of this live stream. So stick around to the end if you have questions about other topics, and you can leave them there, and our moderator or I will see them and answer them. So before we get started, I will share with you a little bit about the trip. So this trip will be on August 9th through 12th. Coming up this summer, we have 2 early bird spots left, so you can join us. I will drop the link in the description below. Let me just find the live chat here. Alrighty. And here you can see some description photos of me from Costa Rica a couple of years ago. That was a trip that I went on with my mom. We had a lot of fun. But yeah, we're going to be going just a group of us from the Traveling with Kristin community. This is going to be my first ever guided trip anywhere in the world. And we're going to be going to the Gulf of Papagayo, which is in the northwest province of Costa Rica. So this is up in Guanacaste, really close to the Liberia airport, only about 25 minutes away. And the whole goal of this trip is just to meet some of you in person and be able to spend some quality time together, and also to just really enjoy ourselves. It's not a very high activity trip as far as, we won't be hiking mountains or walking 20,000 steps a day or anything like that. It's more of a relaxing trip. It's a long weekend, just 4 days. And it is during what I call, or what is known as, little summer in Costa Rica. So this is a time of year that is not in the dry season, but it's not in the rainy season. It's kind of in between. And this typically happens in July and August, where you get a little respite before the rain comes in September, October, and into November. So it's a really great time to be in Costa Rica because there's not as many tourists around. Kids are going back to school, prices are lower, and it's also a great time to be there if you're thinking of doing an exploratory trip where you can put that before or after our group trip. That would be a really good time to do it because it just won't be so crowded. The prices for accommodation will be lower, more availability for tours and transportation and things like that. But this will be a great way to kick off your trip in Costa Rica and also meet myself and some other subscribers from here on YouTube, and also listeners of my podcast, Badass Digital Nomads. So this will be a 4-day trip with probably, we're thinking about 8 to 10 people. Most of your meals will be included, and we're just going to the Gulf of Papagayo, so we're not going very far. We're going to be hanging out at the resort. We're going to be going on a sunset cruise. We're going to be going to the hot springs, and we'll also have a local guide. The hot springs is actually optional, but we're definitely going to spend one of the days there. And then we also in the morning are going to have some space for yoga or meditation in a terraced workshop on the property. And I'm also going to be doing a moving abroad workshop that will be applicable to you, whether you want to go to Costa Rica or another country, giving you some of my tips from my 15 years of helping people move to different countries. And we'll also be having some special local guests since Costa Rica is a place that I spent so much time and helped so many people invest in real estate there and move abroad and retire abroad there. So if we just go down here to the map, you can see that it's very close to the Liberia airport. So if you're flying in from North America, Central America, South America, you can get some direct flights in many cases into Liberia, or only maybe one layover. And then it's just a quick 20-25 minute drive to the resort where we'll be staying. On the first day, we're going to have a welcome dinner and just get to meet everybody, kind of like a meet and greet, and just take it easy the first day since people will be flying in at different times. And then the next day, we'll have our sunset catamaran cruise. So in the morning, have your Costa Rican coffee, have your fruit gallo pinto, typical breakfast, and that's all included, as well as lunch. We'll be hanging out there. We have the workshop area in case you want to do any extra activities. And then at the end of the day, we'll be going on a sunset cruise in Playa del Coco. I'm really excited about this because the last time I was in Costa Rica, I did a sunset cruise in Tamarindo, and it was one of the most memorable times of that entire trip. And also, the last time I did a cruise from Playa del Coco, I saw a whale shark up close. So that was amazing. Lots of flying fish, lots of dolphins as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then again, we'll have a group dinner all together, just chatting, good conversation, good food. And hey, unlimited beer is included and drinks, non-alcoholic drinks as well. We'll also the next day have our moving abroad workshop. So, you can sleep in or you can get up early, go for a walk on the beach, do some yoga or meditation, and then we'll also have our workshop in the afternoon. There'll also be some free time if you want to go explore a little bit, if you want to take photos, if you want to do any other extra activities. You'll have some free time. And then we'll also be the third day going to the hot springs, which are by the Rincon de la Vieja volcano and Buena Vista Lodge. And if you haven't been to the hot springs before in Costa Rica, you definitely have to do it sometime. I've been to most of the hot springs in the country, from Tabacon, and now this will be my first time in Rincon de la Vieja. But I've driven past it a lot of times, especially when I was going up to Nicaragua very often, as I used to spend a lot of time up there as well. So it's always been someplace that's on my bucket list, and it looks really nice there. And if you don't feel like going, then you can just hang out at the hotel. Lunch is also included, as well as our farewell dinner. And then from there, you can also continue your trip in Costa Rica, check out some other corners of the country, which I also recommend if you have 5, 7, 10 days that you can travel for. And there's so many places to see and so many things to do in Costa Rica. So if you've ever been before, you'll definitely know that every corner of the country has its own personality, its own microclimate, its own culture and community. But the northwest province of Guanacaste is really where I've spent the most time, from Tamarindo Playas del Coco down through Nosara, Malpais, Santa Teresa. And so this is really one of the most favorite corners of the country. And we do have, as of today, 2 early bird spots left. So the total trip is $17.99. That's saving $150 off of the regular trip price. And you can reserve your place with a 25% deposit. And you can also finance the trip if you want to pay over time. So really easy to do. You just go to this link up here, and I will post this in the chat. Let me just log in here. I'll stop sharing. And then it looks like we've got a lot of people here. So I'm going to go start reading some of the questions. Let's just go to, here is the link to reserve. Bring this window over here. And we've got Walt here, our moderator. So thank you, Walt, for being here. And yeah, we've got so many people in here today. Jeff is here, Jody's here, Seamus, Steven, Scott. Scott is going to be on our trip to Costa Rica. So he's been one of my longtime Patreon patrons. And so it's going to be really great to meet people in person that I've been chatting with here on YouTube for so long. So let me just post that link for you again. And we're multitasking. Happy Sunday, everyone. So Jody says, this is a great question. Start dropping your Costa Rica questions into the live chat. But Jody says, I think I'm ambivalent about Costa Rica after seeing the video about the increase in crime. And also she says that there's been an increase in crime and an increase in cost. However, she sees that it is still the #1 pick as a retirement location. And that is true. Let me post here. There's been a lot of news lately, a lot of concern in Costa Rica over an uptick in crime, and cost of living has actually also been something that's been, more of a con of retiring in Costa Rica or living in Costa Rica compared to other places in Central America. And it's one of the more expensive countries in Latin America, but it's still pretty average when you compare it to a lot of other places, like especially in North America, the US, Canada, many countries in Europe. It kind of evens out. It's going to be more expensive than Mexico. It's going to be more expensive than Panama, than Bolivia, Ecuador. But it also has, it's closer to the US than going to South America. And there's some extra amenities there that you can find compared to some other countries like Nicaragua, El Salvador, Guatemala. There's also a really big expat community there and a lot of foreigners living there. And it's always been called the Switzerland of Central America for not having an army, which I don't know is necessarily a good thing because of, the crime in some cases. Maybe that would help. But I've seen it more as the Switzerland of Central America because of the geography, the landscape, and also, well, the neutrality of the country, but also the many people from different countries, from Venezuela, Colombia, Nicaragua, Honduras, the US, Canada, Europe, Australia. I mean, all around the world, the people that are attracted to Costa Rica. And it's created such an interesting culture there where you can go out and get, authentic sushi, authentic Italian pizza, and flavors from all around the world. And it's just been very interesting to have traveled there since the early 2000s. My first year there was 2002. So in the last 22 years, it's really changed a lot for better and worse. With development comes a lot of challenges, but I've been able to stay there without having really any issues with crime. I did have a break-in once, but it was a rental property that a lot of people had an extra key and they just unlocked the door and came in and stole my camera and some stuff that I had laying out. So if you are going to be traveling to Costa Rica, then something that I really recommend is just to not bring any obvious valuables with you, not walk around unaware holding your cell phone out in the middle of downtown San Jose, or not leaving your backpack with your laptop laying out in your hotel room or in your car if you're going somewhere. Like, there's a lot of opportunistic theft there, but it's there's ways to definitely decrease that chance that something could happen. Connor says, "Hey Kristin, love your work. I live in Costa Rica." Where do you live in Costa Rica, Connor? Very cool. What's up from Ontario, Stephen? Hey there. Anastasia, Clash. Okay. Oh, he lives in San Jose. Awesome. Which part of San Jose? I used to rent an apartment in Escazú. And actually, I just found, so I was looking at some old photos this week because I'm visiting my parents' house. And I found old pictures from, how many years ago was it? I mean, back from 2000, so 20 years ago, and my first photos ever in Costa Rica, my apartment in San Jose, that was really amazing. I had this just beautiful loft. I'll post it in the community. So if you check my community page on YouTube, I do a lot of posts over there and I share photos, I share personal stuff. I'll post some of the photos from my apartment in Costa Rica over on the community page. I'll schedule it after this live stream. But it's one of my big regrets of leaving Costa Rica was leaving that specific apartment because it was just so beautiful, completely all windows, the entire apartment. It was like on the top floor of the building. It was facing this rainforest corridor where there would be birds chirping every morning, and you could hear the sound of the creek during the rainy season. And anytime I did phone calls there, people would always ask me, "Where are you?" Because they would hear the birds and the animals. And it was just so tropical and so beautiful. And then it had this expansive view of all of the Central Valley of San Jose, which is kind of like a bowl. So it was really nice there. And yeah, it was so sad to leave, but I did leave that apartment because I was going on a 1 year around the world trip as a digital nomad back in 2013. And so I did have to give that apartment up. They put it on the market and someone bought it immediately. I should have bought it. But just to kind of finish up that thought with Jody, saying it's the number one retirement location, I don't know if I would choose it as the number one pick in the world to retire, but I do see why it still earns that spot because of the climate, the nice people, the moderate cost of living, the amenities, the infrastructure's gotten a lot better, the internet's gotten a lot better. And I mean, really the beaches and the beauty of the country and the friendly locals. Anti-cyclone's asking, looks nice, but how much is the total cost? If you're referring to the trip to Costa Rica, that is with the $150 discount, that is $17.99. And that includes your accommodation, most meals, all of the tours and activities, as well as a local tour guide and extra workshops with me. Aquarius is saying many people are hesitant about shared hotel rooms. There are individual single occupancy rooms available. They are limited, but I think we'll have enough for everybody who's going to go. I'll probably be sharing a room with my mom, but there is single occupancy available. So go ahead and reserve, and you can also, before you 100% confirm, we can confirm there on the back end that you can get your own room. Connor also says that the cost of Costa Rica in general is going up a bit, but deals can always be found. He says it's best to shop at local places instead of the chain grocery stores, for example. I totally agree. I used to shop almost exclusively at the outdoor markets when it came to getting my produce every week. You could just get bags of produce, fresh eggs, fresh cheese, things like that. I would never spend more than $20. At the time, I think it was around 10,000 colones, 15,000 colones. So maybe it's a little bit more now, but I've noticed that the outdoor markets in the US and Canada are always more expensive than the grocery stores. But in Costa Rica, it's the opposite. You can get, yeah, just so much fruit and produce and everything really affordably. They'll also sell meat there and lots of specialty products like local organic honey and superfoods and like baked goods and things like that. So wherever you go in Costa Rica, there's surely going to be a local outdoor market nearby. So make sure to check for that, especially in San Jose, especially in the beaches, Jaco, Nosara. So yes. Hey, Henry. Thanks. I'm having a great afternoon here in Florida. What is my favorite place in Costa Rica? Nosara has a special place in my heart because I spent so many years there off and on from like 2005 to maybe 2009. But it is a little bit remote to get to. It's about 2 hours from Liberia Airport or 4 or 5 hours from San Jose. And it's gotten more expensive lately. So that's a good place if you like yoga, if you like surfing. There's lots of really good restaurants there. It's also a great place if you're investing in real estate. The market's gotten so strong. I wish I bought more properties when I lived there. But another place that I really love is Santa Teresa and Malpais down in Montezuma area on the southern tip of the Nicoya Peninsula. And I really love doing the drive down from Nosara to Malpais or Montezuma because you can go through so many different local towns and from San Juanillo heading south. And I think that section of Costa Rica, at least the last time I was there, from San Juanillo, or no, not San Juanillo, from Carrillo down to probably just north of Santa Teresa area. It's very local. So if you want to go to a place on the coast in Costa Rica, on the beach without so many tourists and foreigners, that's a really good place to check out. And yeah, those would probably be my favorite spots. Hey, Donald from Paraguay. Hope you're doing great there. Are you getting a permanent residency down there in Paraguay? That's really popular. I have a client from Canada who's getting his permanent residency down there right now. And Jay is asking where I am currently. So I'm currently in St. Augustine, Florida, which is on the northeast coast of Florida. It's the oldest continually inhabited European settlement in the United States. So it's very beautiful. It's very historic. We have a very historic downtown area with cathedrals and cobblestone streets and horses with carriages. And if you've never been, it's really beautiful. It's a great time to be here, especially in the winter, where you can see the Nights of Lights, where they put white lights covering the entire downtown. So that is really great. And there's also the beach, there's the Intracoastal Waterway, there's the river. So you've got lots of water, lots of sailing, lots of boats, and it is wonderful. So I'm here for maybe 2 more weeks. And then my sister is having her first baby. She's out in Los Angeles. So I'm going to go visit her and see my new nephew. So I'm really excited about that. And then I'll be making my way back to Europe probably in the fall, but first Costa Rica in August. We have a super chat for $20 from Henry. Thank you so much, Henry. Longtime subscriber of the channel. He says, do you think you'll ever like to buy land in Costa Rica, such as in Alegria Village? YouTubers Kristin and Sia and Raya and Louie will be living in a community there. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Thanks, Henry. I've thought about it. I don't know much specifically about Alegria Village, but actually one of my goals before I became a YouTuber myself, when I was thinking about other projects that I wanted to do in my life, starting my own community and sustainable community is right up there. So I don't know if I would move into someone else's community or if I would want to start my own development. That's another reason why I started this channel, was to create a community. That's why I wanted to host these trips to different countries around the world, is to create more connection and community with all of you. So long term, I would love to have my own community, but it's a lot of work. So we'll see. I've actually been talking with one of my friends, Ash, in the UK, and he also wants to do it somewhere in France, perhaps, or in the UK, but maybe I can talk him into Costa Rica. But if you are planning on investing in one of these projects, I would say it's just really important to invest in one where you know the developers and their history and track record. Or if you are investing in one potentially like Alegria Village that already has the infrastructure and houses there and the good management of the community, because there have been in the past projects in Costa Rica that were started but not finished. So if you're getting in pre-construction, you can usually get a good discount, but just make sure that it is a place that is actually going to be fully developed. Thanks for that question, Henry, and thank you for the super chat. Mark's asking, is Costa Rica less expensive to retire than Portugal? I would actually say it's probably a bit more expensive. It just depends where you're living. So in Portugal, if you are staying in the center of Lisbon, then your housing cost could be pretty high. But generally, the cost of living, the food, the transportation in Portugal is really affordable. I would say it's almost about equal, maybe, it depends on your housing really, but you could live for 2,500 a month in either country comfortably, especially if you're renting long term or buying a house somewhere that is outside of the most expensive areas. So in Costa Rica, it would be, beachfront property versus property a little bit inland. In Portugal, it would be going to one of the suburbs of Lisbon rather than living in the center, or going north or south and kind of being in between those big hotspots. Like if you move to Cascais and you have a house on the beach, it might cost you a little bit more. Villarat says, Guten Morgen. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. And if you're just joining in for the stream today, then welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Kristin. You probably know that from Traveling with Kristin, but I was inspired to do this live stream today because it's the first live stream that we're having of the year. And there's also only about less than 2 weeks left to reserve your place to join me and 6 to 8 other people, maybe 10 other people down in Costa Rica for a nice, relaxing, long weekend where we're going to be doing lots of fun activities like sunset cruises, going to hot springs. And this will be the first ever Traveling with Kristin retreat in the Northwest province of Guanacaste. So I'll post again the Costa Rica trip link right there in case you want to check it out, and you can reserve your place today. You can also finance it, and you can join us in Costa Rica. So that's going to be so much fun. I'm really looking forward to go back because it's been a few years that I've been there. Dragon King's asking, what place do I want to visit the most that I've never been to before? So if you haven't seen my video on, I think it's on the homepage of my channel about my favorite places in the world, that kind of gives you an idea of my favorite places I have been to. But places I haven't been to, oh, wow, there's so many places. I think at the top of my list right now is New Zealand, the Galapagos Islands, and I'd really like to go to Bhutan and more of Central Asia, maybe Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and also Romania. Since I am trying to get my citizenship by descent in Romania, I would love to go to Romania. My family, some of my family members are from there. And where else that is on the top of my list? I would say those are my top places for now. I'd also like to go to Antarctica someday. I don't know when that will be, and also Switzerland. So lots of lots of places. And Malaysia. You know, I've never been to Malaysia. I've been to Thailand or Vietnam. I haven't been to. I've been to Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, Japan, Macau. Would really love to go to Malaysia and Vietnam. So I think that would be a time for a different time of year. Maybe go to New Zealand and then go west over to Southeast Asia and South Africa. Well, lots of places in Africa, Ghana, Zimbabwe, Seychelles, Madagascar, South Africa, Egypt, lots of countries in Africa that I haven't been to. So, whew, all right, great. Now I'm thinking of all the places I still need to go. Connor agrees with me on the crime is usually in places that most people would never go in Costa Rica. I would say that's true as far as the street crime, but there can be theft and break-ins in a lot of the beach towns and resort areas. So that's why I also recommend, if you are going to live in Costa Rica, rent or buy in Costa Rica, to get something either in a gated community or in a building that's more secure than just having a house out there by itself. Then you need to have safety bars on it and or have a guard and make it so it's hard to break into. Hello, friends. When will I travel to Indonesia? I don't have any plans to go back to Indonesia right now. But oh, Franz, it does agree that I should go to New Zealand, Australia, or New Caledonia. Oh, I haven't been to New Caledonia. I was last in Indonesia and Australia in 2015. That was as part of my trip to Thailand, Philippines, Hong Kong, Macau. And so it is a place, an area of the world that I really love, but I find it so tiring to fly that distance and then come back so soon. So I like to plan it at a time where I have months to stay over there and not just do a quick trip. So I was actually talking with my mom about it last night. She just got back from Germany and she was asking, where are you going to go next? And I was like, I'm thinking of doing something different, somewhere I haven't been, like South Africa, New Zealand, maybe, doing that Vietnam, Malaysia area. There's also parts of Australia I haven't been to, Tasmania, Perth, Western Australia, the outback. Fali has been researching Costa Rica, so great that you can be here. Let me know any of your questions about Costa Rica and other things here in the chat, because it has been a while since we did a live chat on the channel. Claire is asking, what was my career before this? So I've had a few different careers. I actually, as a young adult, you could say, from 16 until my early 20s, I was a lifeguard for about 10 years. And I was also a competitive surfer. So I was semi-professional. I traveled around the US, Australia, Puerto Rico, Mexico, doing surf contests. So I was an athlete in my old life. I was also on the rowing team in college, and I was thinking about doing that professionally. But ultimately, my first real career, like I worked in restaurants, I've done a lot, but my first career after college was real estate in Costa Rica. And then in Nicaragua, I was part owner of a Century 21 franchise in Nicaragua and owned some property down there. Yeah, so I did that for a long time. And then in 2011, well, before that, really a few years before, I started helping people move to different countries because a lot of my real estate clients wanted help with all of the other aspects of moving abroad. So in 2011, I started a relocation company, and I've been doing that ever since. So my main job is helping people move to different countries. So when you don't see me here on YouTube, that's what I'm doing. I'm helping people move to all different countries: Costa Rica, Mexico, Portugal, Spain, Greece, Paraguay, Panama. And if you would like to get information about that, you can go to travelingwithkristin.com/relocation. And I'll also post that here. So if you are thinking of moving in the next year, like 1 to 2 years, and you've been, scouring the internet and Google and Facebook groups trying to get information for what to do, watching tons of YouTube videos, and you're just tired of spinning your wheels, then send me a message because I can make it really easy for you. I have a private consulting as well as a group program called Ready to Relocate, and we do that year round. So we just close for the holidays usually. Another career that I have, which is new, is DJing and music production. So I've been doing that pretty much since the pandemic. Yeah. David's been thinking about moving to Uruguay if Spain stays too expensive. But I don't know. I haven't been to Uruguay. I would think that the cost of living is probably pretty similar to Argentina, but you could maybe save some money compared to Spain. Although in Spain, you can also get a pretty affordable cost of living, definitely between 1,000 and 2,000 euro per month if you're really frugal. Oh, I believe we have another super chat from Henry. Thank you, Henry. Oh, he's got the information on Alegria Village. Alegria Village was founded in 2018 by the co-founder Stephen Brooks. He has 2 other eco villages in Costa Rica, Punta Mona and La Eco Villa. I hope you can interview him someday on your podcast. Oh, thank you for that, Henry. Let me just copy that and add it to my list. I have a list of podcast guests. You guys, it's a long waiting list. So if you didn't know, I do have a weekly podcast with getting close to 260 episodes. It's called Badass Digital Nomads, and you can search for it right now in Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or you can just Google it. And we have all of the episodes categorized by topic. So places in travel, digital nomad lifestyle, expats and living abroad, making money online, finding remote jobs, travel insurance or health insurance, traveling with kids. So lots of amazing guests there. And I will add this, let's see, co-founder of Eco Village. We've got over 200 people on the waiting list for guests, but I keep adding interesting people. So definitely check out Badass Digital Nomads if you haven't before. And that comes out every Tuesday. Nitsa Danielle has a couple of questions. What is my favorite nomad topic to teach about? And is there somewhere that I suggest someone to go for the first nomad stop? So probably my favorite nomad topic to teach about is places to travel and places to live. as you can see, I have a lot of videos about those topics on my channel, the best places to live. And I do have a video. It is, let's see, best places for new digital nomads. If you just search in YouTube for the best places for new digital nomads or best places for entry-level digital nomads, something like that, and traveling with Kristin, that video will come up. But my computer is being slow, I think, because I'm live streaming right now. But really, I like to take a different approach than most people by saying, like, these are the best places that everyone should go. I think it really depends on what you are looking for. So the first time that I went fully nomadic and did an around the world trip by myself, I chose destinations that it was kind of a combination of places. It was places that had been on my bucket list, places that friends recommended, and also places where I had friends and family already. So I started out in London because one of my cousins lived there and I visited her. Then I went to Berlin because one of my clients from Germany recommended that I go there. And then I went to Amsterdam because somebody else recommended that I go there. Then I went to Mexico because I was helping a lot of people move to Mexico, especially to Rosarito and Cabo San Lucas. And so I actually went for work where I flew into San Diego, visited my brother, went down to Rosarito and stayed there for a couple months just to spend more time there. I hadn't been there in maybe 10 years. So whenever I'm relocating people to certain places, I like to go and stay there for a while and do a lot of research and just get a better lay of the land. And then I went on a road trip up through California and into Vancouver, where my ex-boyfriend was living. So I picked places, well, boyfriend at the time, right? So I picked destinations where I had friends, I had family, I had a business reason to go there. And then where else did I go for fun? I went to Australia to visit some friends because I had studied abroad there. And as you can tell, none of these places are really popular digital nomad destinations. London is certainly not because it's so expensive. Berlin, like maybe there's a lot of digital nomads from Germany and it's, kind of a hip place to go. Amsterdam, very international city, but also high rent prices, kind of expensive, not necessarily a digital nomad destination. That was 2013. I actually didn't even know I was a digital nomad then. So it really wasn't until later that I actually went to any digital nomad destinations. The first digital nomad hotspot I went to was Chiang Mai in 2015. And then in 2018, I went on the Nomad cruise through the Mediterranean and I met a lot of digital nomads there, like 250 digital nomads. And then we traveled through Greece and I went to Bansko, Bulgaria, which is a really big hotspot. So if you're trying, that's a long answer, but if you're thinking of a place to go and you can't decide, there's a million places that you could go in the world, but rather than just looking at a digital nomad destination, like on Nomad List, for example, where you can get a lot of ideas, think about places that you've always wanted to go. And, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would it be? And then now that it's 2024, wherever you go in the world will almost certainly have a digital nomad group. It might be smaller than other places. It might not be like going to Canggu and Bali, but you can definitely find some nomads there. And I found, I've had great times in digital nomad destinations like Madeira, Portugal, for example, but I've also had just as enriching experiences traveling before I even knew what a digital nomad was. And, just meeting locals and other foreigners and other travelers in those places. So don't be afraid to go to a place that nobody recommends if that's somewhere that you've always wanted to go, or you have some curiosity that's leading you there. We have another super chat. Yay. Thank you. This is from David Hornall. Thank you so much, David. Ooh, controversial question. What kinds of people make the worst digital nomads? Any examples of people you met that made you think this person should move back home? Hmm. I don't know if I've ever thought that, but I think I have met people where I wasn't sure that they maybe had the personality type to live abroad for whatever reason. It's probably just my own unconscious bias. But then a lot of people have also changed my mind about that. So I remember there was a couple from the US that I helped move to Costa Rica, and they were just planning on staying there for, I think it was 3 months or 6 months. And, we're having a good time. And I just thought, because I don't know, I don't remember where they were from, but maybe somewhere like very traditional, like let's say Kentucky or somewhere in the South or Middle America. And we're just going there for work. So I kind of thought, oh, they're just going to go for a little while. And then when the contract is up, they'll move back to the US. And they had two kids. And, they loved it so much and really just embraced the lifestyle. I really think that they're still there. And that was in 2011 or 2012. And I'm pretty sure they stayed forever. So I don't judge anybody. I think that if you have the desire and the capability and like the action orientation to do something like this, then that's for you to do. I think the type of people that don't make good nomads wouldn't want to be nomads to begin with. Now, not just nomads, but let's say travelers or tourists. I think there can be people that are not respectful of the land, maybe people that are not following the laws or polluting, or I don't know, doing things that are disrespectful to the culture, or having, an attitude of like that they're better than the locals or something like that. I think that's inappropriate. And I'm sure that there's nomads and travelers and people that are like that. So I do hope that if people do travel and live abroad, that they start to integrate more with that, and that they also reflect on their privilege of being able to have this kind of lifestyle. Beth says that she is in Alaska. Hi, Beth. She will be retiring in a couple of years and has been enjoying my channel and content. Would love to go to Costa Rica on my group trip, but can't make it this time. Thank you, Beth. Well, that's okay. Hopefully, if this trip goes well, we can do a lot more trips. I had originally planned one that was going to be to Portugal in April, but at the last minute, we had some people drop out and we had to cancel the trip. So we rescheduled it for Costa Rica. But hopefully, we can make this an annual thing and go places like Italy and France and Spain and Croatia. So, I love to travel, and I know you guys love to travel. So let's travel together. Yeah, Dave agrees with the long travel times to Asia from Europe or the US. 30 hours travel time to Cambodia, he says. I'd be okay with it if I was in first class, but it's that can be an expensive flight, even in business class. So, and whenever I'm flying in like long haul flights in first or business class, I don't even want to get off the plane. So if I could fly in like a Q suite or something, I think I would be okay with any length of flight. I would take the longest flight in the world. I think it's from New York to New Zealand or something. We have a Costa Rica question from Clash, who's asking any thoughts on setting up shop around La Fortuna area. So this is where the dormant volcano is, and also the Tabacón hot springs. It's a really cool area. It has such an interesting vibe. It's like very laid back and quiet, and it always feels so serene. Maybe it's the weather there. I personally love the beach and the coastal areas. So even though I have stayed in the Central Valley and the mountains and everything, I really prefer being by the beach. So I think that La Fortuna could be for you if you're looking for a quiet place in nature where you can have a view of the volcano and go to the hot springs whenever you want and really feel like a local there because it is a strong local community. And the property prices are reasonable compared to the beach as well. Kristen Ivory is asking where in Nicaragua is safe for solo female travelers. So I spent about a year, maybe more, in Nicaragua, and I found it to be very safe and had far less crime and theft than Costa Rica at the time. But I haven't been in a few years, so it could be different now, but I always found the people to be really nice. And there's a lot of places that you could go solo travel. I used to own a car, so I would drive all over the country. I've been to the Corn Islands. That's a super safe place. I've been to Esteli, which is up kind of in the mountains in the central area. I've climbed the volcano in, what is the name of that volcano? In Lake Nicaragua. I've been to San Juan del Sur. I've been up through Leon by myself, Chinandega area. That's where I used to live. So I can't really think of a place that would be, quote unquote, dangerous. Maybe parts of Managua can be a bit rough around the edges. But yeah, I've always thought it was a pretty safe destination for solo female travelers. So I hope that you're able to go there. Oh, we also need to celebrate David. David, this is your fifth super chat on one of my live streams. So thank you so much. Round of applause for David. Aquarius can't believe I lived in Rosarito for a while. Was extorted at a military checkpoint by the Mexican military. Wow, or almost attempted extortion. Luckily, my friends spoke Spanish and they let us pass. Well, yes, I just did a podcast about Tulum, also in Mexico, and that appears to be a thing there. But I've never personally had that happen. I do like Rosarito because you get the California, like the Southern California climate with not California real estate prices. So depending on what time of year you go, you can get a really good deal. I lived in a beachfront condo there, 3 bedroom, 3 bath condo on the ocean in a really nice building on a surf break, fully furnished for $1,200 a month, everything included. Now that was when I lived in Rosarito. That was in 2013. So that was more than 10 years ago. I'm sure it's more expensive now, but it was just a really nice, quiet, relaxing place to be. And it's so affordable there. The food, the tacos, the grocery store, everything is really affordable. So it was one of my best months of my business because there's not that much to do other than relax and hang out. So I just worked a lot, had low expenses, and just made a lot of money because that was what I mostly did. But there's a really nice, a nice expat community there. There's so many people that live in Rosarito and commute to San Diego. Probably that way is more popular. Fali's asking if I have a video about citizenship by descent and how does it work. So it depends on each country, Fali. I have one. If you go to my channel page and click on videos and most recent videos, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see one on getting a second passport. And I'm due for an update on this, but in some places, for citizenship by descent, for example, in Ireland, if you can prove that you have a close relative, like a father, mother, grandfather, I think it goes back to your great grandfather or your great great grandparent, then the process is pretty quick. But in other cases, it could take up to a year and it could take more paperwork. So it really depends on the country. Italy and Hungary and Romania are the other countries I'm looking at. But usually you're looking at a direct descendant or like once removed, like a grandparent. In some cases, a great grandparent could qualify you. Dave, one of my Patreon patrons, is here. He is staying in Portugal right now. Dave's also one of my relocation clients. I'm so happy to see that he's been living in Mexico and now he's in Portugal. He's in Nosara on a family farm for 2 more weeks. Great weather. Everything is green and healthy, clean air, great people. Costa Rica was great as well. Oh, Dave's going to be joining us in Costa Rica in August. So I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person, Dave. And here is the Costa Rica trip link for anyone who's just joining us right now. And we have another super chat from Henry, I think. Henry, this must be like at least your 5th or 10th or 20th super chat. I don't know why it's not telling me how many you've given, but thank you so much. We need a round of applause for Henry because you're probably one of my top super chatters. I think you're in the top 3 or maybe top 5. So thank you so much. He says, what are your thoughts on the US State Department soon to require automatic refunds when an airline cancels or changes your flight significantly? Gracias. Thank you, Henry, for that question. So I'm in favor of anything that's going to help the consumer against sometimes predatory travel practices that I think airlines have been, quite guilty of over the years. Remember the days when we didn't have to pay for bags? You could just bring a bag with you. I mean, there's a lot of different fees that have been added up over the years. And I really like the European system where the law is very clear cut. If your flight is delayed, if your flight is canceled, depending on how many hours it is, or how long the cancellation is, or how disruptive it is, you can get different types of compensation. And it's actually very fast, and all of the airlines abide by this. So it's really easy to recoup those funds. But you can also go through the government, like EU websites, to get those refunds. There's also companies that offer services to collect the money for you, but I usually just go right through the airline and it's pretty fast. And yeah, I would love for that to happen in the US, not just automatic refunds, but it would be great if there was a minimum compensation. If your flight is delayed 2 hours or completely canceled or whatever, to help people. But of course, if not, then having travel insurance is really important. And the insurance that I use right now, which is not an endorsement for insurance, but I'm just telling you, an insurance company that offers travel insurance is called World Nomads, and they have a lot of different plans that cover delays and cancellations. They also have like a standard plan and an explorer plan, so you can choose the right amount of coverage for you. If you're doing more of a leisure trip versus an extreme sports trip, you can get the coverage that aligns best with your needs. And all right, thanks, Nitsa Danielle. Glad that was helpful for you. Looks like you and your partner are starting your nomad journey next summer. So she says your videos, podcast, and book have been helpful for the planning process. Great to hear that. Okay, Eric is asking, do I know if someone has to stay more than 6 months to maintain resident status in Costa Rica? And do I know of anyone in Costa Rica who offers legal advice on this matter? So it depends on your residency category, but in most cases, Costa Rica doesn't really have a long or strict actual residence requirements for how many days per year you have to stay in the country. So there's the website that we use. Marcella. The one that we use for my clients, I'm just trying to pull it up. It's called Immigration Experts CR, but the website's not loading right now. With Marcella Gordian, it's Marcela last name Gurdian, and just tell her that you're from Traveling with Kristin, and she knows me well as she's been helping our relocation clients with residency in Costa Rica for about 15 years. Dragon King's asking, have I ever gotten recognized? Yes, actually, one time in Miami at a bar, I was recognized. Just someone came up to my table, and kind of recently in Portugal, I was filming a video in Lisbon and shooting outside in the streets and where the trams go by, and I was working out on my laptop, and a girl walked up to me and said, the reason I'm here is because of your videos. And so that was really cool. Actually, a few times in Portugal, I think because so many of you are interested in Portugal. And so a lot of the people who watch my Portugal videos are in Portugal or want to go to Portugal. So very cool. You're welcome, Fally. And Martin asks, where am I talking about? I'm not sure when you came in, Martin, but I'm talking about a lot of locations right now, so I'm not sure. You can watch the replay of the stream. And Henry says, thank you for doing these streams, Kristin. Hope you can have another one very soon. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and week. Cuídate mucho, which means take care of yourself. Oh, and David's asking about that Italian buy a house for €1 thing. That seems too good to be true. And that Japan has also been struggling with large amounts of empty housing. So I was actually thinking of doing a video about this buy a house in Italy for €1 because I think the houses that you can get need a lot of work and a lot of money to invest to fix them up. So I'm not sure if it's really worth it. I think that's more of the catch, but I would be interested in going there to investigate. So if you're just joining us, this was our first Sunday live stream of the year, mostly about Costa Rica, but also covering other questions here. And my announcement for you today is that there are only 2 early bird spots left on our group trip to Costa Rica in August 9th through 12th. So if you would like to reserve your spot here and hang out with me and a lot of other cool people from our community in Costa Rica, then you can click on this link in the chat and just spend a long, relaxing weekend filled with lots of great food, conversation, beach time, sunset cruises, hot springs, and all other sorts of fun stuff in Costa Rica with me this summer. You can make it part of a longer vacation or part of an exploratory trip, or you can just do a quick hop down for a long weekend with us, and I really hope to see you there. Thank you so much for joining me on this stream today. And we have one more question at the end from Connor, who's wondering what would be the best place to work remotely for a 9-to-5 in Costa Rica? Where would I recommend? And honestly, if you're working a 9-to-5, I think that the Central Valley is your best bet. So anywhere in San Jose where you can get fiber optic internet, where the power is not going to go out on you very often, because the beaches, it's still not 100%. If you do live at the beach, it's likely that sometimes the power or internet is going to cut out. So if you need that really, really consistent internet, then the Central Valley would be good for you. Thank you for coming, Walt and Scott and everybody. I look forward to meeting Scott and Dave and so many of you in Costa Rica this summer. And I'll see you again here soon for another video on my channel. If you're watching the replay, comment below and I will answer your questions in an upcoming live stream. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your Sunday and see you again soon. Bye, everyone.